I need some content. But yeah. I think I'm going to annoy some more Championship fan bases with this. Yeah. It's time for the 23-24 EFL Championship Predictions.
Let's not take the piss here.
I certainly wasn't.
Well, I think you are.
Thank you very much, Roy. But it is time, and, well, it's going to be a difficult one this year. There are a lot of teams who are competitive and will be around the same place, and it will be very hard to differentiate between those teams. So we'll get straight onto it. In 24th position, I'll start from the bottom like I usually do. I've got newly promoted Sheffield Wednesday in 24th. They've not really added to the squad. They've retained Reece James on a permanent basis. Again, I'm not really sure how that's going to turn out. Is he Championship quality? I'm not sure. They've lost Darren Moore. Xisco Munoz has come in. It's all a bit of a chaotic time at Wednesday. The squad's ageing. It was really old in League One. It was built to get out of League One. It did that. I'm just not sure it can sustain the Championship. So that's why I've got Sheffield Wednesday in 24th. 23rd position, and the second team I've got going down, I've put Rotherham United there. Now, I had Rotherham bottom last season, and that ended well. They finished 19th eventually. Again, really doing well to survive in the Championship. Matt Taylor got things kind of ticking. He kind of got the job done in terms of keeping them up. But a lot of the good eventually happened for Rotherham was based on the early season success under Paul Warne. The early run of form, which had them in the top half, was really quite crucial. They've lost Cheo Bene. A lot of the loan additions in January, Connor Coventry, Tyreek Fosu, they've all gone. They've signed Grant Hall on a permanent deal. They've signed Dylan Phillips, who is probably going to be a backup goalkeeper to Victor Hansen. They've lost Josh Vickers as well. So this is going to be a tough season. There's going to be a very tough ask for Rotherham to survive, and that's why I've got them in 23rd position. In 22nd and occupying that final relegation spot, I've got QPR. QPR and Gareth Ainsworth last season, it was an absolute mess. It was really bad run, and they were very lucky they weren't relegated. It was just the Mick Beale start, similar to Rotherham really, but this was far worse run. Mick Beale's good run at the start of the season, which had QPR around the playoff positions, was the only reason why eventually QPR didn't go down. And a couple of wins towards the back end of last season, where Burnley and Stoke also kept them up. They've lost Senny Dieng to Middlesbrough. They've lost Rob Dickie to Bristol City. They're probably going to lose Illy's Chair to fellow Championship club, and probably even Chris Willock. So this is going to be a really tough transitional period for QPR. And I'm not sure Gareth Ainsworth has it in him to keep this QPR squad up. The style of football is direct. This QPR squad has been used to playing Mark Warburton, Mick Beale, even Neil Critchley is, it's more dominant on the ball, and it just isn't with Gareth Ainsworth. Paul Smith has come in. He's more of a technical player. Is he really going to fit in? He might do an Asma Betty at Wickham, He might excel. Asma Begovic has come in. Morgan Fox has also come in. And Ziad Larakish has come in, I think, from Fulham. So some decent additions at Championship level. Just not sure they have enough quality to match what's gone out, and also the back end of last season to eventually stay up in the Championship. So we talked about the relegation spots. We'll move on to 21st, and I've got Cardiff City in 21st. A lot of hype around Cardiff, and, well, some of them rightly so. Aaron Ramsey's come back in, his homecoming. Colin Grant's come in on loan from West Brom, which I think is a good signing. Yaku Maite's come in on a free from Reading, again, proven Championship experience. Dimitris Gutas has come in from Turkey. He's a Greek centre-back. He has some decent ratings. But Errol Bullitt, who's the new manager who's replaced Samuel Lamucci, he did a reasonably good job keeping Cardiff in the Championship last season, is an unknown quantity, and that is going to be a massive test for Bullitt. With some unknown quantities in the Championship before who've come in from abroad. I'm thinking of Philip Koku and the likes of Vladimir Ivic, Xisco Munoz to a certain extent, didn't really help themselves in the Championship and eventually were sacked. I'm just not sure on Errol Bullitt. If you can get things ticking at Cardiff, I think this will be a very, very good squad, and they can eventually push up. But to be honest, At the moment, I don't see Cardiff anywhere higher than around the bottom 6. 20th place, another team that performed a miracle in terms of staying up in the Championship last season, and that's Neil Warnock's Huddersfield. I think I've got them staying up just because of Neil Warnock, and despite the fact that they stayed up relatively comfortably towards the back end of last season after that good run, it is a whole different test for Warnock to come in for 10-15 games and then to stay for the whole season and, help Huddersfield solidify themselves in the Championship. He has still got it to do it into the back end of last season. I'm just not sure Huddersfield have done enough in the transfer window so far to improve the squad and give them enough time to settle in and adapt to how Neil Warnock wants to play. And I'm just not sure Huddersfield can either push on from this position in the bottom 6. In 19th place, and my second newly promoted side, I've gone with Plymouth Argyle, and Plymouth have made some really good business last week or so. Ballymumba's coming on a permanent from Norwich, and Morgan Whittaker's coming on permanent from Swansea. And if you'd asked me this question a week ago in terms of where Plymouth have finished, I'd have had them in the bottom 3, no doubt, or at least in the bottom 4. But this 2 really good deals, along with I think Conor Hazard from Celtic and a centre-back from Netherlands, whose name I just can't pronounce. And some really good business there, and I really like Steven Schumacher as the manager, so I think with the geographical advantage as well, you have to take in terms of the psychological advantage they'll have in terms of teams coming in from all over the country, that's going to be a really massive help to Plymouth. So I've got them surviving for a lot of factors, but I've also really rate Steven Schumacher and I think he can get the best out of this squad. In 18th place, and a bit of a surprise this one, I've got Birmingham City. Now, Birmingham have made some really good additions in the Championship window so far. Siriki Dembele, I really like. Tyler Roberts, I quite rate at this level. They made Christian Bielik permanent. They've also got Dion Sanderson as permanent. I really like John Eustace as well. But the biggest piece of news is that they've got the takeover done. That's brilliant. But if any other season, I would have Birmingham at least 5 places higher. But I'm looking at it and I made the list and I went, who are they finishing above? It's a really difficult Championship to be above a lot of these teams, because I don't think 18th really is what this Birmingham squad should be finishing or where it should be finishing, but the quality and the competitive nature of the Championship, the enhanced competitive nature of the Championship this season especially, is going to make it really tough for Birmingham to finish again around this block of next teams I'm going to mention. So I think they're going to improve as a squad and as a team. I think they're going to play some good football under Eustace. I'm just not sure, compared to the other teams around them in this block, I'm just not sure they have it to finish much higher than 18th, around 18th to 15th. In 17th place, and a team that's quite fascinating this season, and that's Preston. Preston on Royal Low last season had a bit of a playoff push, that kind of faded away towards the back end of last season. They've made some good recruitment this summer. Calvin Ramsey's coming on loan from Liverpool. He's been highly rated up in Scotland before. Mads Frøyer Jensen has come in on a permanent deal from the Danish league. Dwayne Holmes, who's a known quantity in the Championship, has come in on a permanent deal from Huddersfield. And Will Keane, who scored quite a lot of goals for Wigan last season in a relegated Wigan side. So he's coming on a permanent as well. So there are some good pieces of recruitment. But again, it's a similar thing to Birmingham. There is so much competition between these 10 teams. I'm just not sure they've got the quality to finish above the teams I'm going to mention quite soon. So it's a really difficult one this season, because any other season I think I'd have Preston improving a bit more and have a higher points tally and whatnot. But I just don't see that happening in this Championship season. In 16th position, and a team I've got dropping off quite a lot, and that's Blackburn. Blackburn finished 7th last season. They just about missed out on the playoffs on goal difference, and to be fair, if we're being completely honest, that squad, without Ben Brereton Diaz, has decreased. His output was absolutely massive for Blackburn, and they've not recouped anything for him. They've not recouped a single penny, so that's going to be a massive loss to him, and it's going to be a really hard job for Dondal Thomason to replace. Speaking of Thomason, I quite rate him. I think he did a really good job in his first season, steadying the ship from Tony Mowbray, who had been there for a long time. It's always a hard job to do when the manager's been there for as long as Tony Mowbray has been, and then to, commit a fairly reasonable playoff push. That's a really good achievement in his first season. They've signed Arnold Sigurdsson on loan, who's highly rated, and they've got a few good players. Niall Ennis, I think, is a good signing on a free from Plymouth. So they have some good players there, but their Brenton Diaz is out, but I'm just not sure Sam Gallagher's up to it either. So it's going to be a hard job for John Dale Thompson to replace that. And again, with the competition this season, it's going to be really hard for Blackburn, I think, to be around here. I think they can push for the top half, realistically, but it's going to be really tight, and it's going to be really tough for Blackburn. 15th position, and the team I had second last season, I've gone with Watford. And the reason for this massive drop-off in my thoughts is, well, Watford have lost so many quality players this summer, notably Ismail Assar and Joao Pedro, and Hassan Kamara as well, who I think is a good player at this level. So there are some notable exits from that Watford dressing room, which is already a bit flaky and a bit fragile. Valérien Ismail's come in, who, again, did well at Barnsley, but in his last two jobs at Besiktas and West Brom, it was deemed failures. So it's going to be a tough rebuilding job for Ismail. Quality's still there, undoubtedly. They've signed Jake Livermore on a free from West Brom. The quality's still there at Watford. I'm still convinced about that. But I'm just not sure they can be any higher than this at the moment. And the competitive nature on the Championship and a few teams who have come up or are just naturally going to progress, I'm just not sure they can go any higher than 15th for Watford. In 14th position, and another side who I had doing fairly well last season, and I think in the playoffs eventually, they are West Brom. And, well, West Brom, decent side under Carlos Corberan last season, really good run towards the back end of it, and just kind of fell off really when it really mattered. They had a bit of a dip in form, and that playoff push eventually petered out. They have some really good players in there, despite their off-field financial troubles. John Swift, Jed Wallace, some really good players in there, but just the situation at West Brom, it just reeks, and I just feel like that will be pretty much translated into the players and eventually into the table. I really rate Carlos Corberan. I think he did a magnificent job at Huddersfield. I'm just not sure he can work another miracle like Huddersfield was here at West Brom. In 13th position, and the last newly promoted side out of the three, the highly rated Ipswich under Kieran McKenna. I've made a whole video about this, so if you want to hear my detailed thoughts on Ipswich, that will be in the description down below, so you can click that and watch that. But just quickly, they are a magnificent side in League One last season. I think they've got the most potential out of the three coming up. They've got a fantastic manager in there, also already got some players who are at a good age, but also have Championship experience before, who are only going to improve. So along with the recruitment they've got so far, Jack Taylor, Omari Hutchinson, some good players in there at Ipswich, and they think they've easily got some good scope to grow in the Championship this season. In 12th position, and I've got Stoke. Stoke have finished in the bottom half of the Championship every season since they've been relegated from the Premier League in the most recent relegation in their history. They have made some good additions this transfer window. Ender Stevens, Michael Rose, Dan Johnson have all come in on a free transfer. Keon Hoover's come back on loan. Chiquinho's come on loan from Wolves as well. Andre Vidigal and Ben Pearson has come in on permanent transfer as well. So there have been some good additions to the Stoke squad. And I think Alex Neil should be able to do better than last season and help Stoke, propel into the top half. I'm just not sure they're much better than 12th at the moment, though. And the competition around them, as I mentioned, for some of the other teams, is going to be stiff. I'm just not sure they're probably better than some of the other teams I'm going to mention in the next few places. In 11th place, and I've got Swansea. And Swansea, from last season, you'd say, well, one place drop, that's pretty meh. But actually, Michael Duff has come in to replace Ross Martin, who's gone to Southampton. And I feel like Duff has got the reputation to go in and just make things click. No, and if it was any other team, like if it was a Bristol City, I'd have us probably 7th, 6th, 5th. But because it's Swansea, and Swansea have been so completely inclined with the Ross Martin style of play, I just don't see the playoff push happening right now. Next season, I feel like that will happen. They signed Jerry Yates, who will absolutely be brilliant for Swansea. I'm fairly sure. Absolutely brilliant for Blackpool and the side that were relegated. I think 14 goals. I think I mentioned him in a video. Really good player, and will fit into Michael Duff's style of play brilliantly. And I feel like they will probably improve as a side. I'm just not sure they have, again, the quality to push for the playoffs ahead of some of the other teams ahead of them. In 10th position, and you'll be wondering, where have I put Bristol City? And I have put us in 10th, not in the playoffs. I'm not that optimistic. But to be honest, I feel about 10th is right for City. We've made some good additions to the squad. We've probably improved, and with the impending departure of Alex Scott, if we make good additions with the money we get from that, I feel like we'll improve massively. Based on what we have at the moment, which is Alex Scott stays, we should be around 10th. Jason Knight's come in on a permanent deal. I think that's a really, really good signing. He will fit into the Bristol City Nigel Pearson style of high energy football really well. Hayden Roberts has also come in. He played Derby last season. Again, really good player. Rob Dickey's come in from the Championship. Again, a player who's been in the Championship for a couple of seasons and is ready to go at a prime age. And Ross McCrory's come in from Aberdeen, and that's, again, a versatile option who I think will play a lot of games and will do well for us. So the additions so far have been promising, and there's a lot of optimism around the fan base, and that's why I have us not only in the top half, but I'd say probably pushing for the playoffs, to be brutally honest. And I think this is probably decision time and probably the doomsday season for Pearson, because he needs to perform. This is last year of his contract. He needs to make sure we are at least pushing for the playoffs. In 9th position, and I've got a highly rated Hull City side under Liam Rosenior. Rosenior really significantly improved Hull back in the last season. They were much better defensively, and they just massively improved. They're going to lose Carl Darlow. It's inevitable that's going to happen. They've got some really good quality players in there, and a lot of what I'm going to say is going to be based off the fact that they've got the quality which they hired the recruiters from in the last summer under Arvelatze. If Hull recruit tailor-made players for Liam Rosenior, I feel like they'll be absolutely fine, and I think they should be pushing for the playoffs at the minimum because they've got the quality there already. They just need to make sure it's ticking, and if that squad ticks, I think Hull should be at least pushing for the playoffs. In 8th position, and a team I've got falling from the playoffs from last season, and that's Coventry. Coventry made it to the playoff final last season, and despite the fact that they've improved every season under Mark Robbins, I've got them falling a bit this season. They've lost Victor Gyökeres, 25 million. They've signed Ellis Sims. They've signed a few other players who are, I think, going to fit right into how Mark Robbins wants to play, including Jay De Silva from Bristol City. So there have been some good additions. They need a few more additions just to, make sure they are just a better rounded team. They also cannot afford to lose Gus Hamer. You might say, well, they get the money for him. He is so crucial to that Coventry side. It is a joke. So Mark Robbins and Coventry just can't afford to lose him if they are to, propel another playoff push. If they lose him, I'd have Coventry a couple of places lower, quite frankly. So this is all based on the fact that I'm thinking Gus Hamer must stay at Coventry. In 7th position, and a team that, again, just narrowly missed out on the playoffs last season, and that's Millwall. It seems like Millwall have been in this position for about 15 years and just haven't got into those playoffs. I've got them missing out just, again, in 7th. But the competition between them and the teams is quite strong. But I've got them 7th, which that's quite a good achievement. And the 3 coming down, well, as you can probably guess by now, I've got them all in the playoffs. So this is going to be, again, a really tough season for Millwall. They've signed Denor from the Belgian league. They signed Joe Bryan, who should have come to Bristol City. I'm not salty, though, I promise. But this should have been the season for Millwall to go, but it's just really unfortunate that they've got those 3 more parachute clubs who are coming down, who are just really good, and I think are going to be in the playoffs. In 6th, and my first playoff place, and that's Norwich City. Norwich, I had champions last season, my predictions, and where they finish? They finished 13th. I think a lot of people had Norwich top 2 at least last season. They were they just tanked, absolutely tanked on Dean Smith and David Wagner. Horrible a run towards the back in the last season. Absolutely, it was really poor, and a clear out is needed. They've got some good players in there: Nunez, Sarah, Josh Sargent. They lost Temu Pukki, who's obviously been a massive influential figure at Norwich for a while now. They've signed Jack Stacey, Ashley Barnes, who I think are good pickups. Borja Sainz has come in on a free transfer and then got injured until October. They've signed Christian Fasnacht, who I think is a good signing because he was really good at the Euros for Switzerland and helped them in their good run in the Euros, and has been highly rated in the Swiss league for a while now, and has worked under David Wagner before, so Wagner knows what he's like. So I think that's a good pickup as well. So there are definite shades of quality, and you have to remember a lot of these players are still riding off the fact that they've been promoted twice as champions and bossed the league twice. So I think Norwich capable of pushing, and again for them the only problem is there's so much quality in the Championship this season that it's going to be a tough job for Wagner, but I've just got them in the playoffs. In 5th position, and I've got Leeds, and well, they've just hired Daniel Farke, who was the mastermind behind those 2 Norwich promotions I just mentioned, and to be honest, the only reason I've really got them in 5th is because of Daniel Farke. Farke, absolutely brilliant at this level. Twice he's been here, and well, twice he's been promoted as champions with a ridiculous points total. In his first season at Norwich, you must remember, it did take a bit of time for him to, get used to the Championship and, get used to the squad. So if this season is one where Leeds finish, 9th, 10th, I honestly wouldn't be too worried because it's probably just what Daniel Farke wants. Leeds have been pretty inactive in the transfer window so far as well. Ethan Ampadu's come in. A lot of players have gone out on loan. They haven't really recouped much money. I think it's 3 million for Rodrigo, and that's about it. So a lot of these players have pretty much gone and just they haven't got any money for him. So it's going to be a hard job for Farke to build his own squad, but I feel like he will probably get the best out of what's there right now, and that's some really, really good Championship quality players who I think will finish 5th. In 4th, and a team who I've got jumping 2 places from last season, that's Sunderland. Sunderland finished 6th last season, and I've got them finishing 4th. Signed, again, a really good bunch of young players who are going to come in straight, and they just know it's Sunderland nowadays that if they sign a player who's young and's coming abroad, they're going to come in and just hit the ground running. Chester Sleet, I really like. Apparently he's come in and from PSV Eindhoven, the youth set up and highly rated there. Tony Mowbray, again, did a fantastic job last season at Sunderland. It's going to be hard to replace the output of Amad Diallo, less so Edouard Michou, but still a bit of a loss. So it's going to be a tough job, but I feel like I just trust Sunderland's recruitment at this point, and I feel like they will get 4th and the playoffs again. In 3rd position, and I've got Southampton, and Ross Martin's just been hired there. He's been poached from Swansea. That's been an ongoing saga, but to be honest, that quality in the Southampton squad is there. It is still there, even if they lose James Ward-Prowse to West Ham or whatever it is. The quality's still there in that Southampton side. Ross Martin, he will need time. It is just what it is. He will need time. He is highly rated. I've got them 3rd purely because they've started already with some good recruitment. Shay Charles, who I really liked in the Northern Ireland setup, has come in for a big fee from the Man City Academy. So there has been some good recruitment who I think will fit straight into Ross Martin's system. I'm just not sure they are finishing above the 2 teams who you've probably guessed by now. And they haven't just haven't got the enough time and the right enough recruitment to push those 2 teams out of the way. In 2nd place, I have got Michael Carrick's Middlesbrough. Michael Carrick took over from Chris Wilder last season, did an unbelievable job, and Middlesbrough eventually finished in the playoffs, lost out to Coventry. It was an unbelievable season for him regarding, the amount of time he had to come in and just get things going. The squad was there. He's already improved on it. Sammy Silvera, Senny Dieng, just a couple of examples. Tom Glover's come in as well. So there are definite signs that this Borough squad is not going to stagnate or regress. It's going to improve. And I trust Michael Carrick completely, to be honest, and I feel like Middlesbrough are probably going to get in those playoffs, and 100% I think are going to push for those automatic places. And considering the fact that they're up against so many other good teams who have come down from the Premier League or are just financially, superior to Middlesbrough, this is going to be an unbelievably hard job for Michael Carrick to get into those automatic places. But he's such a good manager, I just feel like he'll get them into that second place. Now, be honest here, guys. If you haven't got Leicester City first, after the recruitment they've just done, and the quality they've added to the squad, and the fact that they've got Enzo Maresca, you're lying to yourself, really, aren't you? If you feel like Leicester aren't going to finish first, you're not really saying the truth. Their recruitment has been silly good. It has been ridiculously good. You might all say, well, they've got the financial advantage with parachute payments and whatnot, but they've sold James Maddison, they've sold Harvey Barnes, they've got rid of Yuri Tielemans in terms of wages. Their squad is silly good. It is really good. Connor Cody's come in from Wolves, who was really good for an Everton side, finished 17th in the Premier League last season. Harry Winks has come in, who's been a regular in the Premier League for God knows how long. Steven Mavdidi is reportedly coming in as well, who's highly rated over in France. This Leicester squad is going to be ridiculous, on top of the quality they already have. When you've been in the Premier League that long and have won the title, even your fringe players in the Premier League are probably going to boss it in the Championship. The likes of Kelechi Iheanacho, the likes of Patson Daka, they're going to boss it in the Championship. It is going to be a ridiculously hard job for anyone to contain Leicester, and they are going to, for me, win the league rather comfortably. They will probably blow most teams out of the water. They'll probably win the league by about 10 points. It's going to be a really hard job for anyone to contain Leicester City this season. Well, that is my 1 to 24. My 3 teams to go down are QPR, Rotherham and Sheffield Wednesday. My playoffs are Leicester, Borough as the automatic promotions, Southampton, Sunderland, Leeds and Norwich in 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th respectively. I've got Bristol City, my team, in 10th, which is going to be a massive improvement on last season. Let me know your, again, top 2 playoffs and relegations in the comment section below. And if you're brave enough, go ahead and put all 1 to 24 in the comment section below, and I'll be sure to respond to that as well. Thank you guys very much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed it, hit like. If you haven't already, subscribe to the Stoke YouTube channel for more Championship and, well, Bristol City content as we build up to the season. I've got my Championship predictions out of the way. It's probably time for my League One or Premier League predictions, isn't it? That'll be out very soon as well.